What's up, everybody? We are here today, once again, doing another stream. It is day 2 of the Ener-Con stream session. And yesterday we did a little bit of a hangout with the lovely ladies of the Transformer fandom. And today, now it's the ugly guys, just me and JawzD here.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, so
You can actually see me this time.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, people?
So essentially we're just gonna hang out today and just talk Transformers, do some super chat questions, and do what we gotta do. You know, just keep it simple today. Normally we don't do a 2-day stream on the weekend, but again, because it was Ener-Con, I figured we'd do something a little special for that show and promote them, since we live in the crazy world we're in today, and we're not able to we're not able to enjoy conventions like we normally do. So again, this is JawzD with us. He's back again.
What's up, people?
A familiar voice for our podcast. I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do if we're still in this crazy Big V thing. And for our top 5 Transformers of the year, I'm going to try to figure out something. We might have to do something.
Oh, that's going to be tough.
We might have to do something like this. I was honestly tempted. I was tempted of like just having like a laptop with your face on the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And just talk to the chair. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in like a month and a half from now, because we do it usually. We usually do it around Boxing Day, around the 26th or the 27th. So we'll see what happens. I try to wait till the last.
It's always a good fun trek to do and hang out with my bud and just talk Transformers. Always fun to do that.
I'm already starting to compile that list too. I'm already going like, oh, what do I want to talk about?
Good thing for reminding me. I got to do the same.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, that's why I wait literally till like almost New Year's, because there's always, it's funny, every year with Transformers, there's always some kind of masterpiece that would come out beforehand or something. So I want to make sure that when we do that review, nothing comes out between those 3 days before New Year's, you know? Like no one could go, yeah, well, that came out on the 29th and you didn't like it. It's like, well, okay, you know.
Came out on the 29th. How are we supposed to own that?
Yeah. Someone's asking,
you're supposed to own
Backyard Boy, when is my birthday? I'm a May baby. I was born in May. And JawzD is actually, yours is coming up. Yours is coming up.
Oh,
hold on.
You remembered.
I always remember. I don't forget. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. What's the date? I always forget the date. Hold on.
Not hard.
Yours is on the 21st, correct? Or is it the 15th?
Oh, you're 7 days off.
Oh, no, you're the 28th. Who's the 21st? Because there's someone on 15, 21, and 28.
I think that could be.
I think it might be.
I think that could be Lil Sonic. I think.
Yeah, it might be Lee J. Yeah.
I think it might be Lil.
Yeah.
I think it might be him.
Okay. Either way, so yeah.
There's a lot of November. Baby.
Oh, it's tons. That's why. Like you, Joseph, Lee J. I think Brian's a May baby like me.
Yeah.
We're the weird ones. I'm May 27th for people that want to know. Like I'm sometimes Victoria Day or Memorial Day. It sometimes falls on. But yeah, so we're just gonna be hanging, just gonna be chatting. We'll take some questions. I know I already saw some guys. If we miss one of your questions, just like type it again or something. Obviously, the super chat ones are going to be right in our face, and we won't miss those ones. So if you really want to get your question answered, just like do the super chat thing. That's usually the best way to go about it. That's what my buddy Ego Raptor says. Sell the super chat. Do the super chat. Yeah. But yeah, so let's see. Where are we going to start here? I saw a really good one at the beginning. I have to scroll back up. Hold on. Where are we here? What Transformer Seekers do you think will be next in Earthrise or Kingdom? Well, I mean, we kind of know that we're going to have the Coneheads. Look, they're going to do a whole bunch of more repaints and stuff. I'm still waiting, in all honesty. Like, Slipstream needs to just finally get like a good G1 representation sooner or later. But the thing is,
true.
I would want her to also be an original mold. That's the other problem too.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like you can't.
I don't
want to
really. Just don't do a
copy paste that mold. Yeah, you got to do it like maybe a little bit slimmer and do something else with
Well,
it a
the
little bit.
first time they ever did a Slipstream toy, and it was kind of a lazy job, was the Transformer fan club. They just took the
Mm.
prime Starscream mold, and they just like, oh, that's Slipstream. They repainted it. It looked terrible. It was not a good toy.
Mm.
So when I still had back in the day when we had what was that video app that was like 5 seconds. Oh my god.
Oh, I don't
Yeah, I know,
remember.
eh? Because now it's old school and no one talks about it anymore. I remember doing reviews on that, and
Hmm.
but yeah, either way. Let's see. Hey Proto, I have a question. I got some money and I want to get a deluxe Siege Mirage and Smashdown Sound Barrier. Who do you think I should buy, Sound Barrier or Smashdown? Well, number one, it's two different price points. Sound
Mm.
like I no, actually I think they're the same price point. But between the two of them, I really like Sound Barrier. Actually, I think I have him close by. Do I? Oh no, I don't. He's behind me. I really like Sound Barrier. I think he's original design. The fact that he turns into a piece of road as a transformer, that's kind of cool. Um, where Smashdown's cool too. He's kind of a unique design, but Sound Barrier just kind of edges out. Only because you're probably going to buy something else from Siege or Earthrise that's going to be compatible with him, so you'll be able to enjoy it
Hmm.
more. What do you think, JawzD?
Oh man, which one gives you more joy? I think you have to look into first.
Yeah,
Which one is the cooler one to
I think
get?
it's. I think it would
I don't know. That's what usually goes with me.
like sound. Well, in your case, because you
Or
like.
actually, for me, it's which one's the harder to get. That's the one I would go for first.
Well, then that would probably be currently right now. It would be Sound Barrier because he's not in retail in most of them. Where Smashdown, well, personally, me, I've been seeing him everywhere, but that's different from region to region. Um, but yeah, more or less, that's that. Uh, Question: Did Menasor go from Teabag Bruticus after taking him out with one punch in Starscream's brigade? You're referring to the G1 episode. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch it. I haven't watched because that's a season 2 episode. I haven't watched season 2 in legit forever. JawzD is gonna go just quickly do something. um, so I don't really remember. Hey Proto Man, what are your thoughts about Transformers the game? Which one are you talking about? The new one that's based off of the Cyberverse stuff? Are you talking about Transformers the game, aka the old 2007 movie game? Like which one? There's quite a few video games of Transformers. Quite a few. um, they could make a generation style slipstream from Windblade. Yeah, I could see that. They did that Legends mold. That one was pretty good. That one I remember when we were working with Bakon stuff. That was used for the Air Razor. What happened to Kingdom Polar Claw? That one we still don't know. I'm
Mm.
reading rumors online that it was going to be part of Kingdom and then they canceled it. I mean, nothing's confirmed. Everything is really rumors right now. For everything that we know about this Kingdom line, there's so much we don't know. Like we just kind of know,
Yeah.
okay, here's the first wave, and Hasbro's been kind of tight-lipped about a lot of things, and that's that. Okay,
And I would I would also assume they're more tight-lipped just because of all the leaks that
well, all the
happened,
leaks and
uh, and all that
part of me
stuff.
feels because now everyone is doing the Zoom thing and everything. I feel like they're going like, "Hey, we got to have like new content every week for people to talk about." And so they've been
Mm.
slowly putting out stuff instead of putting it out every day, which is interesting. Uh, to answer someone else's question before, so they said they wanted to know what I thought of the 2007 2000 excuse me Transformers 2007 movie game. Well, of those, I find if you could play any of the 2007 movie games, get the DS versions. Those are absolutely incredible because you get to make your own custom characters, scan your own things, level up your character, customize the weapons, customize the paint, and then you are an Autobot and or Decepticon because it's kind of like Pokemon. You have a Decepticon game and an Autobot game. You have two different versions,
Mm.
and you get to play out your story like in the war of that first movie, and it's pretty cool. Where the home console ones, whether it be the PlayStation, I think it was PlayStation 2 at the time, and the Xbox original, it's really just kind of like I don't know how to put it, like not a fetch quest, but a point A to point B crazy taxi kind of game that has beat 'em up stuff in between.
Okay.
And it's again, you're just playing as the characters from the movie, which again, maybe you'll find that fun. But I really found that the DS one was really good, and especially at the time, because you had local online play and you had online play, and they had all kinds of events and stuff and download stuff. And when you beat stuff in the online stuff, it unlocked other characters. There was so much going on. Now, of course, all those servers that don't exist anymore, but it was really fun. It was really, really fun. Where are we at here?
I didn't get to play any of those games. I think you were the one that was the lead on those, especially
well,
when the DS was really big at the time.
Me and Vangelis, I remember we had like a little like table. I want to say it was like TFCon 2008, where like me, him, I think it was GM Fan, I think one other person, we all brought our DSs because we all had the game and we all had our custom characters. And what's cool about it, you could do like a battle royale with a whole bunch of people. There was like a soccer kind of version where you could push an item. It was very interesting. There's like race stuff. It was like really well done. Christina,
I just want to say thanks, Chris H, for liking my rubber ducky display. One of them is actually from BotCon and signed by David K.
It's the official BotCon rubber ducky.
Yeah.
There was 2 versions, if I remember correctly.
Sorry for cutting you off there.
No, I was actually going to read her question. Yeah. No, I was going to read what she wrote. That's why what you just read. What do you guys think of the new Studio Series 72 Starscream? So, for people who don't know, they recently revealed last week the next Studio Series that is going to be Starscream based off of how he looked in the Bumblebee movie, which was he appeared for like 4 seconds in that opening scene. And he was a Tetrajet and stuff. So they're going to be doing a figure that. Well, what I think about it, and I talked about it in my segment about it, it opens up the possibility of all those other characters that appeared for 5 seconds in that opening. By Starscream getting a toy, it's like, oh, then that means RC could get one, or Brawn, or whoever else was there. And that's really cool. That's really cool because...
I would hope so, because I would hope they would reissue the Optimus Prime from that movie as well. And I thought the whole point of getting that version of Prime for that movie was to get everybody else in that like first, was it 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
Oh, it was like 5 minutes.
It was very short.
Like 5 minutes, I think, maybe even.
My favorite was just the fact that when we went to go see it, you weren't there.
I was running late.
You weren't in the theater, and then you're like, "Yo, what did I miss?" I was like, "Everything." the most important part.
At least I was lucky, because then it led to like if there was one scene that was going to get bootlegged and put online on YouTube, it was that.
Yeah, and then eventually put up by officially.
Yeah, so I was at least lucky in that case. But yeah, missing it for the first time, I was like, man.
On the big screen on top of that too.
And we got like those early screenings too and everything. But oh well, it is what it is. Someone asked here, should you get Studio Series 86 Jazz? What do you think?
I would say yes. Yes. Personally, I would say yes, because I mean, I have 2 of the what do you call them? Make Toys. There we go. Woo.
Oh, Downbeat.
The Make Toys. Yeah, Downbeat and the black one.
Well, whatever they called Ricochet, aka
the Ricochet
Stepper.
one. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but I already have 2 of those, and then I have the reissue of the normal one coming hopefully soon. I'm still waiting for that pre-order to, for them to, I guess, start the factory up again. I don't know what's going on with them, but yeah, for sure. I mean, this is supposed to be harkening back to the original G1 Jazz, and he's back looking like a Porsche. So I would say definitely get it for sure. Yeah, hands down. That's a hands down for me. It's a
very I don't want to say historical, but it's a very big first for the character after many years, because when you really look at Jazz's lineage, and I'm not talking like movie Jazz or anime, just strictly G1 Jazz, they did like everything they could to get as close to that sun as they could without burning their, wax wings, so to speak. And every Jazz we got, it's like, oh, it's kind of Le Mans, but it's not quite. It's kind of Porsche,
or it's a completely different series of Le Mans, like a different class of car for Le Mans.
Like here, I'll pull one out. This one, even they did a spy.
Oh, and Backyard Boy, not all the Power of the Prime Jazzes had the magma. It was
The
only
first,
the first run, and then all the subsequent ones don't
yeah,
have it.
and you could actually tell the difference. You have to just look at the assortment number on the back, the ASST. And if I remember correctly, because I went out of my way to try to get both, because I'm a lunatic.
Yeah, I got both.
It's 1001 for the MAGA, and it was 1004 for the regular version. The regular version shipped with Wave 3, so it's a little more difficult to get the non-version. What I was going to show here is even they did...
And thanks, General Techno, for jumping in as well.
Yeah. So they even did like a Spy Changer Jazz, and they just kind of like they reused the Spy Changer mold, but it's like, oh, hey, it's like kind of a Viper, but not really. You know, like they would constantly all the time just use all kinds of different, you know, really nice looking sports cars for Jazz or something, but never really hammer it together like we're going to do that Porsche.
Like that one looks like a Dodge Viper.
Yeah,
almost.
no, that's totally it.
Like
that's
that.
totally it, man. Like that's this mold originally was like the Spy Changer Sideburn, aka Speedbreaker, and they just kind of like, you know, they're gonna milk those molds. So it's kind of one of those things that like it's historical because Jazz they always found a way to kind of not do it. And again, it makes sense from a licensing standpoint. If you're gonna make a toy, if you have to attach a license to it, you're going to have to pay more, and then it cuts into your costs.
What I also thought was very impressive whenever they did do an official Jazz toy, kind of leaning into the G1 era kind of thing, the robot mode always looked pretty close, but it's just the alt mode didn't. But I mean, that was like the closest.
Well, and that was another thing too, because like,
and the transformation too was very similar too, in some ways, you know, very reminiscent.
And not to mention like that pursuit for show accuracy, because every Jazz really up to this point had, you know, the gull wing, the wings on the back of his robot mode, so there was always that issue. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal, and I firmly believe, because a lot of times when you have toys like that, when they come out, they become such a staple that they become like the go-to for everybody for years. Like I remember when Henkei Rodimus came out, aka Classics Hot Rod, when that came out, that just was like the staple hot rod toy for like, no joke, like 10 years. Like it's just there just was nothing, you know, sure, animated came around and there was other stuff, but it just was the hot rod toy for the longest time. And I feel it's going to be the same thing with this Jazz, is that after they do this one, you're going to get other Jazz toys, but they're going to be from other continuities or other stuff like that. And you probably won't see anything like that for a while. Like they're probably not going to do that. Like I think after this, probably the next G1 Jazz you'll see will be Masterpiece. I mark my words. Like
I hope so.
I think that in the same way.
I think we've been saying that for the last 5 years.
Well, you know what? The way that I see it is, I feel like in terms of G1, and I've said this before, I feel that Trailbreaker and Hoist are probably going to be the next ones coming, and then after that, it's going to be Jazz. I
was gonna say we did finally get that hound, that Masterpiece hound, and I remember they had the silhere's of that a few years ago, and it took a while for it to come out.
I've no joke. I literally have the ad here. Like, here's the ad for it. It was on the side of God, what year was this? It was
exactly,
but it was old. It was old as hell, because like it took forever for that thing to come out.
Since you brought up Henkei, there's I guess a question from the top of the chat. Autobot AI, what do you guys think of CHUG? I would say these days it is CHUG heavy on the G, on the generations. Well, I guess they meant.
Well, I don't use the CHUG term because there's so many letters now that are added to it. Because it used to be CHUG used to be Classics, Henkei, United, Generations. Now it's like, now you got War for Cybertron with Siege and Earthrise, and then whatever's going to come afterwards. Yeah. And then the Unicron, like where do you put Power of the Primes, Titans Returns, you know, like where do you put all of that? Combiner Wars. So that abbreviation is like a mess now. Now it's like a catch-all term. If we say CHUG, it's like, oh, okay, I know what you mean, but it's
like, you know, it's this era of toys. But I love CHUG. CHUG was me really getting back into Transformers, because I think that was a little bit after. That was like a little bit after Energon, so I kind of fell out of the Unicron trilogy. So the Armada, the Energon, and what was the third one
Cybertron.
again? Cybertron and Chug. I was like, oh, it's like these guys are looking really cool, and I kind of came back in and then started going to TFCon. So I think for me, Chug is, and then also you get the third party add-on kits and stuff like that. So when I think of Chug, I think of that era and that era when I kind of came back into Transformers, and there was a lot of stuff going around. Like if you didn't like this, then you could jump
Yeah,
in
well
on
that
that.
was
You could if you
well
didn't like
that's another thing
that,
too, because when you came back, like
it's very
in
open.
that 2007, excuse me, 2006 2007 era, that's when all of a sudden, like there was like at one point, like it was around, I want to say like 2009, you had it's like here's all the lines you had to choose from: movie line, alternators.
Hmm.
Alternators was still kicking on the Japanese side with
Yeah.
Vinyl Tech. Titaniums, animated, the whatever you want to call Chug at the time. I think it was probably in Universe 2.0 at that point. And
Yeah, I think
then like
so.
animated was on its way out with Transformers Prime into 2010. That you had all of that going on, let alone reissue stuff that was going on the side and everything, like the G1 reissues.
Hmm.
So there was so many like little things going on that you could enjoy, that if you didn't like one aspect of Transformers, you could jump around. Where, I mean, if you were an American collector at the time of, let's say, the Unicron trilogy, if you didn't like Armada, the only other choice you really had was maybe some G1 reissues, which were few and far between back then. I think they were Toys R Us exclusives.
Mm.
So it's just, there wasn't many choice. And then of course, obviously, by the time Energon came around, then you had Universe 1.0. But
Yeah.
it was a different time. Now there's so many options. There's so many, and of course, third party didn't exist back then. Now that's a whole other wrinkle too, you know. Some
And that's not to say I did not Energon stuff. Like I think after getting back into everything and then looking at what was there, I was like, oh, these things are pretty cool. Like RC and what's his name? Primus and all that
Yeah,
kind of other stuff too. The combiners that and also got add-on kits as
yeah.
well. So like it was
Those
always
molds
like
got
something cool
used
to go
like
back to.
crazy. Those molds, like those
Yeah.
were Energon molds, but they found themselves all over the place. They were in Universe, they were in the movie line, they were all over
Mhm.
the place. We have a question. We have what was your favorite Transformers toy commercial?
Ooh, that's a
I
good
have a
one.
few, because like I can't really pick one. Like if I could go in like order releases, like I think of the Diaclone stuff. Like that's even pre Transformers. Like
Yeah.
Jazz had the best commercial, and I
Well, Jazz reminds me of the "we'll return back to these
mm,
messages" kind of thing. That's what it kind of feels like. Like you watch the Diaclone commercial for Meister, and then you watch G1, the little in-betweens where they're like, "Oh, we'll be back after these
the bumpers,
messages."
yeah.
Yeah, the bumpers, and then I feel like if you put them side by side, they would kind of
And
match
I
up
always
a little
found that
bit.
commercial fascinating too, because it's like, why did they focus on Porsche Robo Meister, like, and give him that like they give him that really cool commercial with the wire frame and everything, like where no other like car, it was, they were called Car Robot, Diaclone. Like, why did none of those ever get a commercial like that? You know, obviously with the bigger price point stuff did, but none of the original cars. So I always found that fascinating. It's
Yeah.
a really cool commercial. It has that jazzy music, which is very like, oh, it's kind of in hindsight, it's like, wow, that's kind of ironic years later. Um,
Yeah. Well, like maybe they put a lot of. I don't. Yeah, you're right because he wasn't called
well,
Jazz yet.
and that was all created by.
You're completely right. I didn't think
Well, yeah.
about
Well, think
that.
about it, because like back then, the fiction for that was that's a human piloted car, you know, that becomes a
Hmm.
robot that fights the Wodoros Empire, and there was like, you know, that's a
Right.
whole other complicated thing. And then it's like it wasn't until Bob Bugansky was like, you know, looking at it and going like, he's gonna be Jazz, he's gonna be like this, you know. And then of course, obviously, Scatman Crothers added his flavor to it too, but you know,
Yeah.
like those bios were written before the voice actors got to it, so it's very, you know, serendipitous in a lot of ways that happened. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he watched the toy commercials and found inspiration from that too. Who knows? That's something
Mm.
that someone should ask him. Uh,
Like that jazz guitar going on.
yeah,
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
it's no, it's true. When you watch it, you're like, huh. Another one that I really like is a lot of those G2 rap commercials. You know, the aerial
Oh, those are always
the
fun.
aerial bots are taking their shots. Silver bullets changing. Combaticon change to be rearranged to make the super robot Superion. And a fun fact with that one, those G2 rap commercials was actually Gary Chalk's Transformer debut. He was one of the Rotostorm members. He was the voice of one of them. And he just like for 5 seconds. And the only reason it was funny because I found that out by accident. And then the first time I ever got his autograph, at the exact same time I got his autograph, he was being interviewed by someone. And when I had, and me, I'm so like OCD. So I hand him the litho to sign. It has all his characters, and he's like, "Oh, thank you for this. Now I can remember who I was." And he's like, "Who's Auto Jetter?" You know? And I'm like, "Oh, you did a G2 commercial for like 2 seconds." He's like, "Oh, I don't even remember that." You know? It's kind of like David Kaye. Like one of his first voice acting roles was, if you watch Ronin Warriors back in the day, he was the intro. He was the intro.
Oh.
5 fantastic battle armored samurais, Ronin Warriors. That's it. That's his thing. You know, that was him. You know, so it's like, oh,
he did a lot.
Yeah, well, he's prolific.
He did a lot of voiceover work.
Well, the one that I was familiar with before I even knew who David Kaye was he was the father in Rama, and I watched Rama religiously like in 1994. So that was pretty crazy to like go, oh my god, that was him, and now I can't look at the character's name again.
I think my favorite was the really, really Canadian one he mentioned at the first TFCon I was at, where he said, I do the brick commercials.
Oh, right.
And where everyone was like, wait, what? And he's like, nobody beats the brick. And he's like, the brick has been very good to me. And I'm like, oh my God. Every time I hear him when he does if I get a chance to watch TV and I see that commercial, any of their commercials come up, I'm like, oh, good, he's still working with them.
The other
Awesome.
one that he did that was an eye-opener. This was at BotCon. He's like, oh, right now I'm doing the Cialis commercials. And everyone was like, was like, oh, damn, it is him. Do you have erectile dysfunction? You know, like, and he was just like, what? It's like, but it's true. And then,
but I know he also does Last Night on Tonight. He does some of their voiceover stuff. And I think he did the World Cup when they were in Russia for Fox Sports. So, yeah, he's keeping busy.
He is. Someone wants to know opinions on micro change Creons. So pretty much what the minifigs were. Look, the Creons and the Kre-Os, like I've said it, they're amazing. They're awesome. I try to collect them all because I think they're really cool. But I also have said this 100 times. They almost exclusively existed to keep trademarks. Like that's what they existed for. Like if you hate Kre-O, you have to understand it. Like Kre-O was the reason why we got Combiner Wars. Like they used all those Kre-O combiners to get all those trademarks of all those individual robots back and stuff like that. Larry's here. What up, Larry?
I kind of like Kre-O because I feel like I don't feel like people were getting really creative with Lego and Transformers. I don't think. At least I didn't notice it super extremely hard. But then Kre-O came out, and then people started getting really creative with trying to do their own thing with Legos and Transformers and building systems. Well, not to mention
like Kre-O came out right at a time when everyone was like, it's got to be minifigs. And still to this day, like I know tons of people who collect Lego and stuff, and that's all they care about. That's like they'll buy like a $200 kit, just take the minifigs, and then try to get rid of the kit afterwards, because that's all they really wanted. So, like when
I feel bad that.
No, I was gonna say when Kre-O came out, it was kind of like that era of everyone wanting minifigs, and here's Lego, they're doing their blind pack minifigs, and Kre-O was only doing the big boxes at the time, so everyone's just like, right. I just want the Jazz minifig. I don't want to buy this big set of whatever to get Jazz. Yeah. So what ended up happening was so many people just kind of avoided those big box sets, and I think Hasbro. They were a little late to the game because then they finally started doing blind bag stuff and of just the minifigs. Mm-hmm. But it was like I think 2 years into the line, and it was kind of like a little too late. Like they've already made the hit because people didn't want sets. And I mean, I kind of liked some of their sets. Some of them were pretty fun. But at the end of the day, if you were someone who messed with like Bionicles or Hero Factory, you you knew what really good articulated robotic Lego could be already, because Bionicle kind of skirts that cyborg robot kind of thing. And, you know, I got to remember to turn that off. Every time.
I kind of feel, I was gonna say, I kind of felt a little bit bad that they didn't, I guess Hasbro didn't get a chance to get in with like Ionics or Tenkai Knights.
Yeah.
Where the brick was the minifig. And I thought that would have been really
There's
cool,
a really good,
you know,
they did, Ionics Tenkai Knights, which was done by Mega Bloks. They
no, I don't think that was actually done by Mega Bloks. That was done.
Was it not Mega Bloks?
It was done by another company. I think that's like, I want to say Spin Master.
Because I remember at one point, Mega Bloks had the Pokemon license, and they did like a transforming Mega Block Ash, like it turned into the brick.
No, that's still Ionics.
Oh, is it Ionics? Okay, so maybe
it's still
I guess
Ionics,
I just thought it was Mega Bloks. Okay.
I really want to say Ionics. It's not Mega Bloks, but I want to say it's it could be, it's Spin Master. It's Spin
Probably
Master
was Spin
that
Master.
did it.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at it right now.
You see, General Techno says it was Spin Master for Tenkai Knights. Yeah.
Yay! Thank you, General Tech.
There you go.
I was like typing it discreetly on the side here.
Let's see. I'm gonna go through some of the questions. Got to dig back again, guys. If don't hesitate to like repeat yourself over and over, because stuff gets drowned out all the time. Don't feel bad about it. Where was it? I saw a really good one somewhere before. Where was it? Is the quality of Transformer toys getting worse? It's not that they're getting worse. It's that it's not really quality. It's that the budget for what used to be certain price points have changed a lot from many years ago. And it's sad when you take like, and I hate to like always lean on to Beast Wars, but if you took like a deluxe Beast Wars toy that was, you know, at the time $9.99 American or $12.99 Canadian back in the day, and you look at what you got, the consistency of paint, like the best example I always say is just take your old Cheetor, and like here's all these spots on it, and every paint application was perfect.
The eyes are painted different color.
Yeah, but like there was just like this really high quality product that was always consistent in quality. Like I don't know a single person that's like, oh, I bought like a Beast Wars toy and it was floppy out of the packaging. But you know, today because of how the plastic that's used, first of all, is back in the day it was an ABS plastic mixed with vinyl, mixed with PVC, depending on what parts of the robot, but it was mostly ABS plastic. Today it's MABS and SMABS, which is essentially the same plastic used in bootleg toys. So it's like, yeah, which is like, because the problem is and this is, don't take my word for it, but I feel like because in China, their mentality is the reason why toys are made with cheaper plastic is because they don't think kids are going to play with it, they destroy it, and then it's gone to the wind. So why spend so much, because, you know, toys are made out of oil, why spend so much oil and plastic and everything on a product that's going to be destroyed? And because the Chinese market has grown so much, that's one example. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons why Transformer toys have taken that route, obviously for budgetary reasons, everything. I mean, I was really disappointed with the deluxe Cyberverse Hot Rod. I constantly talk about it on the stream, but like I'm literally like I could hold it right now to the light, and like the light shines through this toy because the plastic is thin. It's very thin and spindly and loose, and it's a shame. I mean, the engineering's kind of cool on it, but considering what the product has to be, it feels like I've seen people who buy Masterpiece Transformers and then they buy the bootlegs of the Masterpiece Transformers, and I've messed with the bootlegs and I right away noticed the difference. This is one of those things where it's like, did I buy the bootleg of the Cyberverse? Like, did Amazon send me? Did Amazon send me a bootleg? Like, no, they obviously didn't. There's no such thing as Cyberverse bootlegs right now, but it's just something that right now the quality is kind of hit or miss. I don't want to blame moving to Vietnam's factories. It has nothing to do with that. It's just Hasbro's choice to thin out the plastic, less plastic, less paint applications. That's the one that always beats me up, is there's so much less paint now. They really try to just mold in plastic. And even in the case of like metal, one thing that I don't like is now they use pegs for the axles of the wheels. They don't use a pin anymore because they don't want to use metal. So it's
okay.
They kind of cheap out in areas, but you know, it's something that is kind of just the evolution of Western toys. It's funny, I had this discussion, no joke, with my father today.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
because
way.
he was saying, like, what do you think's gonna happen with Hasbro in like 50 years? Because we were talking about, because he's a toy collector for people that don't know,
Mhm.
and he collects die-cast cars and stuff, and so we came to that discussion, and I was just like, man, the way that they're going right now, I don't even think they will be a toy company in like 50 years. Like they're gonna move into.
Do you think you mean like they'll be like a Nintendo?
Well, that's exact.
From where Nintendo started and where they were a card
Wendell,
company,
that's
toy
exactly what I
company,
said to him.
and then video game company.
That is exactly what I said to him. I said, like, there is so many companies that they started as, I said Nintendo, and I said car companies. Because what car company started as a car company? None of them did. All of them were like, oh, we were a motorcycle company, or we were taking military contracts, or like every car company, more or less, if you...
I think Mazda was doing something with
Oh, of
cork.
course. Yeah, all of them.
They were doing something with cork before they got into cars.
All of them. You look at Mitsubishi, you look at Suzuki, you look at Honda, like, just to mention those
Oh,
guys.
Mitsubishi's huge though.
Yeah, but the point...
Mitsubishi's like industrial.
Yeah, but that's
the cars is just an afterthought.
well, that's just it. It was military contracts with Mitsubishi. Like, there's just, you look at their history, and it's like, it's the same thing where you look at something like Hasbro really hasn't been around for 100 years, so they're kind of a young brand where it's something 200 years from now, like, people will just be like, oh yeah, Hasbro, they're that company that makes the AI, blah blah blah. Who knows? It's like, do you know they used to 100 years ago they used to make toys, and it's like, well, that's Nintendo.
Well, I think like the toy division, it might go away. Sad to say, it might go a different direction, and all those properties will be like TV shows, movies, comic books. They'll probably do that. They'll be an entertainment thing, but then they still have Magic the Gathering. They still have card games. They still have
that
board
prints
games.
the money.
They still have all this stuff that we really get into.
That stuff, like,
that are making a big comeback.
They have a
left.
beautiful portfolio. That's the one thing, is that the stuff that they do actually own is very powerful. Then, and we've discussed this on the past in the podcast together, when they merged with E1 Entertainment, that opened up that portfolio even more. Then all of a sudden they got the Death Row stuff. They got all, like, it's where they got all this material that if they wanted to, they could technically open a streaming service. They whatever will be entertainment in the future, they'll be able to take that library and do something with it. And I mean, if you open up a streaming service, think about it this way. Like, you open up a streaming service and you go, oh, well, they're just going to show Transformer episodes and Gem and whatever. Well, if they own Wu-Tang, they could do prolific documentaries. They could do like a behind the music kind of stuff if they want to, like, really have a fleshed out streaming service, in that a lot of ways that people forget when they look at Disney Plus. They think of Disney Plus, they think of the Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff. Disney Plus has that whole section that's just National Geographic. There's that whole, hey, if you're a documentary person, it's not just Star Wars and the Avengers. It's and Disney movies. We also have this huge, Planet Earth documentary segment of it, and it's the same thing with Hasbro. If they open up a streaming service, it's not just Transformers and cartoons and GI Joe. When they have all of that music material, that leads to all this footage and musical licenses and IPs that they could do all kinds of stuff with and grow off of, and it'll be very interesting. And it's funny because Wu-Tang and Transformers has done a few crossovers recently in terms of like weird vinyl figures. So I feel like something's going on there. Something is being done.
Just want to give a little shout out to Gamma Prime, Sisters with Voices, SWV.
But yeah, it's just,
I haven't heard that band in a while.
But that's why, like, there's clearly something that they could do in the future, and it might not happen, in the next 5 years, but it's something that will happen in the same way, like you just mentioned before. Nintendo was first, they were selling cards, like
Cards.
Hanafuka cards. Then they were selling Trump cards. Trump is what the Japanese refer to as our playing cards. It's called Trump over there. They sold Trump cards, and then at one point they were in the Love Motel company business. They did whatever made money, and then after the end of the war, it's like, hey, toys are the thing. And so they were doing toys for years and stuff, tin toys, game toys. Yamaguchi, who later on would become one of the major heads of Nintendo, he invented the Ultra Hand, which is like, every kid has seen, where it's a long arm and you squeeze it and it has a little claw at the end that closes,
Oh yeah, the extendo arm kind of thing.
Well, in Japan it was called the Ultra Hand, and he he made that for Nintendo, and they started doing toys, and then of course when the 80s came around, it was, hey, these video games,
Game and Watch. They started out with Game and Watch,
and the Color 7. Color 7 was actually, which was pretty much a bootleg of Pong, so that was their first kind of video game stuff, and then the rest was history. Where, this video game stuff's making money for us. So it's the same thing with Hasbro. I could see them that one day they'll find a new niche and they'll kind of lean into that new niche, and that'll be whatever makes money for them. Look, you can't argue that if Hasbro would have fostered a gaming industry early for themselves, and they tried. It's not to say they didn't try with Hasbro Interactive and stuff, but they were more licensed. They were doing licenses of their own products, which licensed games are what they are. But it's just, I could see them doing something, finding some way to make money with what they own and evolving to the future, because they're too big to fail. They're just kind of one of these companies where what they're doing is they're hedging their bets and growing more and more to be something bigger. But yeah, that's the long.
And they're not staying stagnant. They're constantly trying to do new things, or trying to reinvent. They're trying to put some new stuff on the market. They're not just like, oh well, we got everything, we're just good. No, they're doing bots. They're doing Transformers, the trading card game.
They always they always pay attention.
They're always doing something.
They always have their hand on the pulse at whatever's hip in that moment. So that's one thing I always give them credit. Where, people don't like to believe it, but car robots in the skies actually didn't sell that well compared to Armada. Armada killed it, but Armada came out at a time when it was Pokemon, gotta catch them all, little figures, they knew what was hot and what to go with at the time. Obviously in hindsight, looking back, people lean more on those car robots in the skies designs than Armada, but the point is that they knew what could make money in the moment. Hey, Protoman and JawzD, what character would you like to see more in media? I've always pushed 100% that Nightbeat just needs to finally be in something animated, for God's sake. And by animated, I don't mean Transformers animated. I mean any kind of that is such a
fiction.
That is a character that he doesn't need to be a regular. Give him one episode. Give him a film noir, one episode. Just side episode thing just for fun. It would be so fun to have a Nightbeat detective noir kind of thing, because he's such a cool character. If you read the Marvel comics back in the day, he's someone that it's everyone else. Bludgeon has gotten onto animation. Everyone else has gotten their opportunity. Nightbeat's the one of those I don't want to call them the Boba Fett characters, but those minuscule characters that everyone loves. He's the only one that hasn't made that transfer yet. And unless you want to, Minerva, but that doesn't count. They share molds. But that's not the same character. For you?
Jeez, I don't think do I? I don't know. I guess I would have said Bludgeon.
Think of a Beast Wars character that hasn't had a toy appearance.
That hasn't had a show appearance, you mean?
Excuse me, yeah.
Toy or show?
Think of a Beast Wars toy that hasn't had a show appearance, maybe something like that. Because you have a lot of Beast Wars toys that are.
Yeah, but I mean Cyber Shark already made it to.
Well, technically through Skybite, yeah.
Skybite. I think Skybite shows up twice. Skybite shows up in Car Robots and also Cyberverse as well. So it's just meh. I don't think I have one. I think everybody I would have said Bludgeon, but I think Bludgeon already showed up in Cyberverse,
he was
right?
Quite a big player in that.
So yeah. So people that I would have wanted to see or kind of got into later on, I think already had their.
I like Transformer 2010's and Razor Beast was at least in Fresh Prince, that Razor Beast beat everyone. He beat everyone to TV. He beat Primal to TV. He beat everybody. He's been
pretty much
since October. But But yeah, like it's I mean there's quite a few, but Nightbeat's always the one that comes to mind. There's a lot. I mean, I look at a lot of Beast Wars toys that like I would have loved to see, like Wolfang and Canine, like that twin team.
I was thinking of them.
Because
I was thinking of them, but I was like,
in my like toy fanon, I always imagined them as the like equivalency of Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. So I was always like, oh, they would have been like so cool, like, you know, as like a team on like Beast Wars or something. But I mean, there's tons of them. Hey Proto, do you think we'll ever get a full G1 reboot or something without Prime or B? Well, I think that we constantly get G1 reboots. I mean, I think that when you look at what Cyberverse was, when you look at what this new Siege TV series is, you know, going into Earthrise, everything is in a way kind of a G1 reboot, because like think about what means to be a reboot. Like think about what a Spider-Man reboot is or a Batman reboot. It's never 100% retelling the same story as the previous movies that were rebooted from. It's just using the basic skeleton of it. So a G1 reboot has already kind of happened quite a few times. It's just, I mean, I don't want to say like Armada was a G1 reboot, but something like Siege is completely that. When you look at anything that was going on in the comics, those are all G1 reboots over and over. So it's just different ways that they tell it. But if you're talking just animation, look no further than what they're doing right now with the Netflix series and what's going to be coming in the future. It's marching in that direction. Thoughts?
I think so too. I kind of feel like every time there's a new series, that's a G1 reboot in a way. Like even though they may change up certain characters, like I think like animated is in a way is a G1 reboot in a small way, but like they're just like, well, what if Optimus wasn't Prime? What if he wasn't that?
Well, that's why
at
least animated.
Because I feel like with that beginning, they're kind of taking Beast Wars and then G1 and smashing them together and saying like, well, what if Optimus Prime wasn't a Prime yet? What if he was just Optimus and he's this whole series is him getting to be a Prime?
Animated mixed up the status quo, and I think that's what made it appealing to a lot of people. Even though, and again, also the designs were not just like the traditional designs. I talked about this with Aaron Archer. Aaron's biggest criticism with a lot of what's going on now with modern Transformers is whenever we see Optimus Prime now, it's that same design over and over. It's G1 Prime. It's G1 Prime. It's G1 Prime. Where at least like when you looked at Transformers Prime, Optimus Prime, there was a different silhouette to him. It had the base, you know, it still had the windshield on the chest. It still had this. It still had that.
The pointy ears, the mask.
Yeah, it still had
the helmet.
It still had those cues, but it still had a different silhouette and a different look. Where like if you put Cyberverse Prime next to Siege Prime, next to this Prime, next to that Prime, it's more or less kind of the same Prime. Like if you made a silhouette of them, like not like the details, but just the silhouette, you'd be like, oh, I don't know, maybe that's. The term that we use is the evergreen design. That's kind of what they're going with right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Proto Man, have you tried to put Shockwave pieces from Siege on Astro Train shuttle mode? I saw a video, but it wasn't very good at it. All the pieces for my Shockwave, because I really like Shockwave, how he is without the pieces on, like his, I don't know, what do you want to call it, Shiva mode that he has. So I just kind of leave them in that, I don't know, shuttle mode, because Shockwave is easily one of my favorite Decepticon characters, and that toy is like, that's probably as good as a not masterpieces we'll ever get. So I mean that's a great toy, but I've never combined the pieces with anyone else really. I just kind of just left it like that.
I kind of see another question here by Corruption 2005. If you're suggesting a Transformers toy to a kid with a fidgeting problem, which toy would you choose and why?
Well, if it's a fidgeting problem, then don't get anything that's a flip changer. Don't get anything.
Oh, really? I was thinking of flip changer, something simple
if you have,
that you could flip around.
If you have a fidgeting problem, then what you want to do is you want to have something that engages you as long as possible. I find that the problem with fidgeting is that if you have that easy over and over, it's one thing. But if you have something where you could actually focus and it's more than 3 steps, you're actually like, it causes more engagement than it is just, flip, 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 like the gravity bots or any of those. I mean, the flip changer is the easy answer. And the ironic thing is also we ended up with fidget spinners of Transformers, and I had it around here somewhere. I think I packed it away. They made fidget. You ever heard of fidget cubes? I think I have it around here.
Oh yeah.
I had it around here somewhere because I had a Bumblebee one I picked up recently from a flea market, and so they made like Transformer fidget cubes, and so like even those like are for Transformer fans. I remember I was at
then I guess you would suggest like a scout, like maybe a scout toy,
nothing too crazy.
A deluxe or a scout.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. A deluxe or a scout. Like I always use the term desk formers because all of us like we always have something on our desk that like I always have this tiny turbo changer Optimus, which is like it's actually better than a flip changer at least, but boom 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 done. You know what I mean? Like but I always keep like a little desk former nearby or something to kind of just mess with when I'm usually when I'm encoding something or when I'm working on something. Just something to keep the hands busy. Out of my pants. No. But yeah, like someone said all the toys were spectacular. I was wondering how do they capture such odd proportions, not interfere with the transformation. Which series are we referring to? I think we're referring to Prime, or animated. Well, animated was Dark Magic. That's what I've always said. Like the very first time I saw animated Hot Rod, and I was like, "Where's the kibble?" Like his legs were just like, "Where's After years and years of like car kibble on the legs, I was just like, "Where's the car kibble?" They just, I firmly believe that a lot of what was done in animated found its way into Masterpiece afterwards, like MP10 moving onward with the Shogo Hisui era, as I call it. And it was like, there's some really amazing stuff in animated. I can't stress that enough. Like Lockdown is like the biggest deluxe you'll ever own in your life. It's like they figured out how to give you a Voyager toy in a deluxe price point, and like with tons of paint on it and gimmicks and attachable weapons. Like different era. That goes back to what I was saying before. The budget was different. It was 2008, 2009. They didn't know how big this Transformer thing was going to be and where that world was going to go. But yeah. How will the toy line after Kingdom be? For me, it will be Unicron Trilogy because of the Armada anniversary. Very strong possibility. But I also stand by the fact that if Kingdom is like a breakout success, and I mean like it makes crazy money, they will stick with that. Hasbro, for all the things I praise them for, they'll also milk something until it stops making money. It's like if that ATM is spitting 20s, don't stop grabbing them, and then when it stops, then move on, so that's the thing.
But I would like to see an Armada kind of anniversary of any. I'd like just to give those
molds something.
Those molds like another shake.
Well,
another shake, a more modern shake on it, like they did with Starscream. Starscream in was that Universe?
Well, I think it was Generations. I think it was
Generations. Yeah, they did the. Yeah, so like I would like to see, and weren't we supposed to get an Armada Optimus Prime, or did that happen yet?
They showed it at Wonder Festival. They
showed the prototype.
Showed the prototype, and I firmly believe I stand by it because everyone always asks me about it. They're like, "Hey, what's happening with that?" I firmly believe that they're waiting for the anniversary. I think that's an anniversary item.
Okay.
Not to mention, Armada Optimus Prime, many times in voting polls for Masterpiece, he always makes it in the top 5. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be a anniversary item that they'll do or something. But I do agree, a lot of those Armada designs are really cool. They were just hindered by their gimmicks and
their soundbox gimmicks or something like that.
Their soundbox gimmicks, the toyetic way that it was depicted. A lot of those characters, and so you take the best example is look at the Universe version of Hot Shot compared to his original toy. Like they did Hot Shot in the Classics line, and they switched up the proportions to make him work for that aesthetic. But it's the same thing. Apply that kind of thinking to Armada Smokescreen, Armada Red Alert, Armada Overload, who's like who's a brick Imagine him
Yeah.
as like a more like, like almost like a, God Magnus, Robots in Disguise, Ultra Magnus kind of like really articulated character instead. Those would be really cool to see. It would be really cool. And it would give Hasbro an opportunity to then revisit the Unicron trademark at some point. Because that after they do that Unicron release, they're going to have to figure out somewhere to throw that Unicron trademark again. So they could easily throw it at a Unicron. And then, hey, maybe I'm reading from a crystal ball here, but maybe that's our next Titan class. Who knows? It's a possibility. Or it could be like,
Scale down that crazy. What would that class even be for that major Unicron they did?
oh, that's its own class. That's
That's its own, like, what would you even call that class? Like, if Titan is Titan.
wallet destroyer class. That's what it's called.
Wall.
That
The wall.
that's called
Load-bearing wall
sleeping on the
class.
couch class. Like that's what it was. Everyone that I know who bought one was just like, oh man, like I am in so much trouble. Hey Proto Man, do you know that Transformers was going to get an animated CG movie from Takara, but that movie never saw the light of day? Well, there was a lot of talk back in, I think it was like 2001 or 2002. There was a company called Wikisoft that was working with, oh god, I want to say it was Takara Interactive, and they worked on a Transformer game. The unofficial name of it was called Call to the Future, but it was just called Transformers on PlayStation 2. And there was always all of these rumors that they were going to do like a Transformers CG movie remake, like the 86 movie done in CG. And this was all like rumors and stuff. And it nothing ever came of it, especially considering the fact that Japan, and I mean they're getting better, but Japan when it comes to CG, they're still not 100% where America is. Like if just go on not Facebook, on Netflix and look at a lot of the Japanese and Korean original children shows that are done with CG. They're good, don't get me wrong, but you look at their CG and they're like, ooh, they're still not at that level yet that, let's say, even like a 1996 mainframe was at. So they're the kings of 2D. I'll always give them that. Like, cell-based animation, 2D animation, no one touches Japan. So, but it's like they're still kind of behind on it. So like something that's CG that's done by Japan, I don't know. Like to give an example, like the new Ultraman Netflix series, I really like it, but I'm not a fan of the CG. I think the CG could be better, to the point that I kind of wished it was 2D. That's kind of how bad the CG is, in my opinion.
Well, I know what they usually do now is for animes, you'll have 3D models and then
Cell
they'll
shade.
make it look cell
Yeah.
shaded. I think that usually saves on animation costs because you don't have to draw an individual thing. You're just manipulating a
And it
model
also,
as
and
it's
what it
moving around
does
and stuff.
essentially, yeah, it saves on animation costs, and also it does the complete opposite. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I'm saying it does the complete opposite of what we expect from CG, which is like crazy shading and gloss effects and stuff like that. Stuff that the more lifelike kind of stuff that we expect out of CG animation. Even something like Frozen. Like watch Frozen on mute, and the expressiveness of the characters and stuff and everything, and the shading and the gloss and the clear colors. And when you do cell shading, you kind of are just doing anime 3D. And anime has a very simple kind of style to it that just works. But when you bring it into the 3D world, you're kind of reminded also of how it's kind of simple in the 3D world. So it is what it is. Could we see a TMNT 2K3 style Transformers cartoon? I wish. The Fox one, I loved that one. That show had balls, man. Let me tell you, they did a lot of stuff that I was not expecting, based on the old Kevin Eastman and Laird comics back in the day. Like Shredder got his head decapitated. Like wow, they put that on screen. Really good series. Had stakes, and I would love if they did something like that. But I sadly believe that I think. And it's just the evolution of what's going on now with children's cartoons. I don't think we're going to go back to 2D animation for a while. And if we do, it's going to be done in a style that's going to make us all very angry. And what I mean, like, think Teen Titans Go, think like Thundercats Roar. Like, if they do, they're going to go that flash animation. Like, that's the only way they'd go back to that. Otherwise, they're just going to go CG. In the same way, like I just said before, go to Netflix. Go to the kids section of Netflix. It's all CG cartoons now. It's just, if anything, CG has gotten easier to make. And it's like the second you get the environment built and all your characters, like those models,
and the models
built, then you just move forward. Then you could do a 26 episode series of, Doug the Pug. No joke, I watched it, and it's just like, oh, I see what this is. They have the backyard and inside the house. They have 3, character models, and they just made 26 episodes based on that. And it's so much easier, where if Doug the Pug was a 2D animated thing and they had to do every single cell every single time and draw new backgrounds and stuff like that, it just wouldn't work. Just would not work. And we're it's to give the equivalency of it, like the way CG is today. And I'm taking this quote from someone else. I totally forget who it was, but someone said it the best. The way CG cartoons are handled today for kids is how Hanna-Barbera handled cartoons in the 70s and the 60s, which is like, if you've watched one episode of the Flintstones, you've seen every animation model that you needed to see. And it's a little bit with Filmation too, with He-Man and stuff, but more so with the Flintstones and what they Flintstones and Scooby-Doo and stuff like that, Hanna-Barbera specifically, because they did it first way before Filmation did in the 80s. But it's just that they're kind of doing the same thing, where it's like now, like with Hanna-Barbera, now that you have these cells of the characters talking, walking, and the backgrounds that you're going to loop, you just can make a million episodes. And once or twice, you're going to introduce a new character, or a new branch of cells and stuff, where it's kind of the same thing with the CG, unfortunately. It really is. What was another good question I saw? Everything's zipping by here. But I mean, Cal art style, that's what it's called there. Cal art style, which is what, again, Teen Titans Go. Look, Teen Titans Go is fun. I like the Teen Titans Go movie. It was fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of humor, but at the same time, I'd really like more old school Teen Titans, it's the same thing, where it's like, I understand what they're doing.
Actual serialized story going on and everything like that.
Very good series, and as a Dick Grayson fan, I loved it. It was really well done. Hey Proto Man, has there ever been an explanation about how the Transformers' sense of touch works? Like, is there a nervous system, a ton of hairs, or well, I mean, if you really want to get into the science of science fiction, if you want, like, I'm pretty sure. They've always talked about audio receptors, optical sensors. I'm pretty sure there's touch sensors. How does a Transformer character realize it's too hot in here, if someone's breathing on them or hearing something? There's probably touch sensors. There's probably something on a microscopic level inside their Cybertronian alloy that gives them the ability to feel things. I mean, if Cybertronians have what's called CNA, which is Cybertronian DNA. So if they have CNA, then I'm pretty sure they probably have, like, feelers and touch sensors and stuff like that. That just no one has ever really talked about it, but I'm pretty sure it's there. All the other senses have been talked about. Even a sense of taste, a sense of smell has existed. Cheetor farts and it's gonna be Rhinox farts, or actually Cheetor farted once too. Rhinox farts, and Optimus is going, "Oh, that did it," So, like, clearly it's there. Clearly it's there. By the way, guys, again, if I miss any questions, just ask again. I'm not purposely missing them. It's just everything just pops up fast. But yeah, that's the way I think it is. I don't know what you would think, but where am I at here?
Well, someone said in Prime, when Mech kidnapped Breakdown,
he turned off his pain receptor. Well, that's just it. Like, it's some
Lego AWC. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's something that, there's stuff that has been addressed in the past, so I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure there's probably even more than that. I'm pretty sure maybe there was like a line in the Marvel books, that probably it came up to. I mean, they've talked about, like, procreation, they've talked about all kinds of stuff. I'm pretty sure they brought up even stuff like that. Hey, Proto Man, I
Yeah.
see you have a McDonald's Transformers Energon Unicron in display. Can you show us that figure? You're referring to the UK one. Hold on. So these were the United Kingdom or European exclusive. I'll get the, you know what, I'll grab the Galvatron behind it too, because that was part of it. So these were, this is probably the smallest Unicron toy ever made. I want to say this was in 2003. So it was just a Unicron McDonald's figure that came out only in Europe. Very simple transformation. Crack that open. There we go. Oh, I probably should spread out the arms. Very simple. Had a little Energon cube gimmick. You would take out the cube and it would glow with batteries and lights. Obviously the batteries have been dead since then. Pill battery. And
you should take out those batteries.
No,
so you're not melting inside.
No,
there.
I actually checked these ones. They're not the leaky kind that are like the typical pill batteries.
Okay, good.
Actually, look at this one. It's still it lit up for a split second and then died. Oh, it's still kind of there we go, kind of working. There we go. This is the Galvatron's one. It's the same thing. You put it in his chest. Man, how old are these batteries then? Whoa.
Very old.
2003 for sure. So this was the Galvatron. You know, pretty cool. Very simple transformation. Boom, boom. There you go. These are pretty tough to come by. I forget. I think I bought them through a dude at BotCon, I want to say, and he even gave me the Happy Meal box for it also. These were, and
nice.
the other two is because they did 2 Autobots, 2 Decepticons. I have the Autobots there also. They did Optimus and they did Ironhide, aka Roadbuster from Super Link. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Pretty cool. Again, the Unicron's interesting just because it's a small Unicron toy. You know, so that's kind of cool. You know, like usually you don't have a small Unicron toy. And it fell over. Whatever. I just turned over and he's like, because he's round, so it's kind of hard to get it to sit up. But yeah, they're cool. They're cool. I like, you know, like it was funny because after that, when Cybertron happened, I started working at Burger King, and they got the Cybertron toys, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Like, and you can kind of see them in the background there. There's 2 of them, Cybertron toys there from Burger King. And I remember my boss, he had no idea that I was a toy collector. And so when we got the Cybertron toys, I asked him, because when we get them like a month in advance before we sell them. And we also get the store display and everything. And when we get the store display, we actually get sent a display kit, which has the toys already opened and everything. And I asked my boss, I'm like, hey, could I like take some photos of these? And he's like, why? Like, and keep in mind, this is also before the days of phones in your photography in your cell phone. So I had like a flip phone at the time. And I was like, so I had to like, you know, the next day at work, bring my digital camera, take the photos. And I remember I took them on the toilet. No joke. I went to the toilet in the staff room because like it was all white and you have the porcelain at the top of the toilet. So the photos would be really nice. And then those photos were uploaded to TFW 2005, and I was like, oh, we're going to be getting Cybertron. My boss had no idea. It's like, why does this guy want to does this guy want to take photos of the toys in the bathroom? Like, he thought it was so weird. And it was if you Google, no joke, if you Google Burger King, Transformers, Proto Man, so you're going to see some old news post from probably like 2005 with me showing off the toys. Dumb stuff, but I love them. And fun fact, that's one of the very last Transformer toys that actually kind of did transformations properly. I think Animated also did a few of them, but there really wasn't any good ones after that. I saw another really good question before. Everything zips by. I'm sorry, guys, if I miss anything. Hey, Daniel, do you think that the Commander class will continue after War for Cybertron Trilogy? They did not sell well. I think they'll keep the Commander class. I think the Commander class will always be that price point that they could use to stick a big character, but they don't want to do like a massive character. I still firmly believe that, like, you know, that could be something where you're going to see, what do you call it? You're going to see like combiners. Like if they want to do combiner box sets, that Commander class price point could work for that. It just I don't think it'll go away. In the same way that, like, there was a time where Hasbro phased out the ultra price point, and then they kind of just, they invented the Human Alliance price point, which was the same thing. It kind of was the same price, and they do that. They phase out price points. Like Scout was gone for a bit. They got rid of the Scout price point, and then they brought it back. Now we have it back with Kingdom, with Rat Trap and stuff. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure it'll stick around for a while. I just want to also just mention we're doing a contest today. I totally forgot to bring it up. I didn't do it yesterday. I wanted to save it for today with JawzD. So we're gonna do a contest. Same thing. We're just gonna ask something, and then we'll pick a winner. You'll get a free $30 gift certificate to symbiotestudios.com, who is a sponsor along with Hasbro for this. Symbiote Studios does our pins, does our t-shirts. I'll show the t-shirt I'm wearing right now. Here it is, second time. Optimus t-shirts. They do plush, everything. symbiotestudios.com. If you don't win today, go on to symbiotestudios.com. Use promo code ProtoMan, get $5 off your first order. Enjoy that. But we will do a question. We'll do it in like 5 minutes or so. I'm going to go bug my mod and make sure he's watching. And we'll ask a little question here or there. But yeah. So good. What was another question? I've missed one. If you see anything, JawzD, just jump in.
Yeah.
Who do you think will direct the next Transformers live action movie? I hope Travis Knight comes back. I heard he isn't, but I would like it if he came back. He got it. He understood. He understood. Like the Bumblebee movie, even though it's probably the worst selling of all the Transformer live action movies thus far, but that's just, I think it's called like audience fatigue, if anything.
I think it's fatigue.
I think that if that exact same movie came out after the 2007 movie, it would have done gangbusters. It was just people were so tired from the previous ones that they were just like, well, what's this one going to tell me? And and if you're not like married to the fandom like we are, where we know it's a different director, we know it's going to be a different story. For many people, they're just going, oh, another Michael Bay explosion movie. Sometimes people don't know those little facts. Look at the people who enjoy, the Marvel movies. Some people who go to see them have no idea who the directors are for any of those. They just go, oh, it's the next Marvel movie. And they just assume it's all one giant, entity or something, that's just all created by the same writers and staff and everything. So, I mean, I would like Travis Knight to come back just because I'm curious. But if he doesn't come back, then just someone who gets it. And I don't have an answer for that, but just someone who gets it. That would be cool. That just understands the hobby. You? Any directors you could think of?
I think I said this the last time. The director for The Incredibles, maybe.
Who was that?
What's his name? Something Bird. Come on, I'm trying to look him up right now. Someone can shout it out in the chat as well. Brad Bird, probably. So he did Incredibles 1, 2, and the Mission Impossible movie where they were actually a team together. I could check this out, right? I'm pretty sure we had this conversation before the last time. He
a lot of times we get the same questions from different people. That's why.
He was the writer for the Iron Giant, writer for Incredibles 2, writer for Ratatouille, writer for Incredibles.
If he did Iron Giant, I liked Iron Giant, so that would work. That would be pretty good, especially if it was like a Bumblebee movie. I see everyone, and now everyone's. It's funny because we have like a, just to let people know in the stream, we have like a 30-second
Mission Impossible.
We have a 30-second leniency delay, so we don't see sometimes the answers until 30 seconds later. So now everyone's Brad Bird.
Oh wow. He also directed a few episodes of The Simpsons. Apparently.
Oh really? Which ones?
1990. 1990. Krusty Gets Busted.
Okay.
So the introduction of Sideshow Bob. And Like Father, Like Clown.
Oh, yes.
Which is where Krusty meets his dad. He meets his estranged dad.
I don't want to get flagged. To me, you are.
So he's a guy that's been around for a while.
What was a good question I saw someone ask? Question for you two. What was the most recent Transformer figure that you picked up? Again, flea market.
It's been a while.
Flea market. Totally wasn't expecting to pick her up. Rescue Bots Whirl. I was like, hey, $1. Sure.
Mm.
And it shocked me. Most Rescue Bot toys, because they're Rescue Bot toys, usually have no articulation. They're just very easy to transform. She has articulated arms. Oh my god, a Rescue Bot toy with articulation. Me meow. Like I was just like, what? I picked her up for $1. And then aside from that, I bought some bootlegs last week from Dollarama. There's some cool bootlegs.
Does it have to be
Anything. What toys did you get? What did you get recently?
it could be third party
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well? I think the last thing I got was, where are you right now? It was, I think it was, oh, there we go. Fans Project, uh, Beast Structor. So the combiner set, the Abominous combiner set.
Is that the one that's in the background there?
No, this is the Battle of the Primes with an
Oh,
add-on
okay,
kit.
okay. Yeah, Power of the Primes is the add-on kit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Power of the Primes with the add-on kit.
yeah. Okay.
And then I think the last thing I bought, because I think they did another run of it. I haven't taken out the box and messed around with it. I just kind of messed around with one of the figures, and that was it. But I didn't get to like take time to really get into it.
Do you
I think that was the
do
last.
you remember the Transformer Universe online game Ranger the Aligned Era? There were so many original designs. Yeah, you know what's funny about that? So if you were at BotCon, ooh, I don't remember what year that was. They all one of the I want to say 2011. I'm probably wrong. Maybe I'm right. They had a booth where you could sign up early for the game and have your character created in advance. And
Oh
signed
wow.
up for the game, character created and everything. Nothing came of it. And and it was
Mm.
crazy. They did a printout for you. They showed you your character with your name. It was like this crazy booth and everything, and just nothing came of it. Hasbro has had a weird history when it comes to getting a Transformers like online MMORPG off the ground. So it was 2011. Okay, so it felt like it was that year. I love that year. That was the best BotCon year. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it was nuts. It was so nutty how like they every time they have like some kind of online game. Like right now they're talking about the guys who own Halo and stuff from China, whatever that company's called there. Um, they're in talks with them to make like some kind of MMORPG. And
Own Halo or Fortnite, or would you?
I think it was it's a Chinese company that owns
I
part of
don't think
this.
it's Halo.
No, I'm serious. I have to look it up.
Halo is owned by Microsoft.
There was
So it might
I
be.
remember reading
So you
something.
probably think of ten. You could probably think of Tencent.
I'm pretty sure Tencent's involved in some way. They're involved in everything in China,
You're
but
probably thinking of. I want to say Fortnite. Oh man,
maybe,
my I forgot,
maybe,
but I could be completely wrong.
maybe.
No, Fortnite is Epic Games. So then it has to be another game. It has to be another.
I can't
It's
think.
another game.
So,
Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Tencent, but I'm trying to think of the game that Protoman's referring to. So I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Certain Affinity. That's the one. That's the one. That's
There
the
you
name.
go. See?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. Like we'll see what happens with that. I firmly believe Hasbro really needs to step up their video game properties with in relation to what they own. Like they recently made.
I feel like they could just partner with somebody on
Well, to
that.
give an example, they
Like we
recently.
have we like what they're like what Games Workshop does with Warhammer, where
Well,
they still own the property and they just have other developers make the games for them, and you know.
they recently made a GI Joe Fortnite-esque kind of game recently,
Yeah.
and it looks okay. I haven't played it. It looks fun, and they're barking up the right tree. But the problem is that I think that's the weaker brand to kind of be doing it. But I think they did it because they're like, well, kids like Fortnite. Maybe if they play this one, they'll want to go out and buy a Cobra Commander figure. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But at the same time, you really need to kind of do that with all your brands. Well, obviously, maybe not like, Gem and the holograms, but, so at least the
Yeah.
ones that you could kind of
Well, I mean, Gen and the holograms. I think that would just be a rhythm game, no?
rhythm game, or I
I could see
remember
that being a rhythm game.
at one point one of the best selling apps in the app store was Kim Kardashian's fashion whatever there, or something. So I mean, you could kind of go in that route too, where it's like you could do like fashion stuff. Look, you look at the girl brands and what's popular with them, and it's all about like blind packs and unboxings and everything. Like laugh out loud, surprise, LOL. Like that's that's the popular stuff with the girl brands right now. It's something where you kind of lean in that direction. Then you got to do that. So it's Hasbro will always, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. I as much as I badmouth Hasbro sometimes when they do mess up, they always somehow figure out a way to like balance things out in the end. JRPG gem, yeah, okay. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I mean, they did do a Sailor Moon JRPG and a Magic Knights Ray Earth JRPG.
Yeah, those were both Super Nintendo. Yeah, Other Story, I think it was called. There is a Transformer open world game that is called Transformers the Game, which is basically tied into the Transformers movie in 2000. Well, you're referring to, well, it's open world in the sense that it's open world offline. That there's the, open world in that sense, and you could kind of play in that. I don't want to say so much open world, it's a sandbox game. Which is a little different.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like usually when people say open world, they mean like vast world that you can kind of run around in, and not necessarily ties it to an online kind of thing. But
that one.
Yeah, it's mostly it's basically a sandbox game.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's more of a sandbox game because and the same thing. Even the DS ones were like that. Could a Transformer series solely based on the Marvel UK and US comic books work for TV? They could, but they probably would cut down on the deaths, and they probably simplify it. The thing with me is I really feel that the direction that they're going now with the storytelling of the brand is shorter, bingeable, less water cooler conversation, meaning like episode comes out and you have a week to digest it so people could talk about it. Now it's more, here's all the episodes in one shot. Or if it's not that, then it's because like the style even of Cyberverse, because it was these 10-minute segments, if you're someone that goes back, if you didn't watch any Cyberverse and you just watched it all in one shot, it's totally bingeable because it all feels like just one episode really. Like it was just cut up pieces, if anything. So everything's more of a bingeable kind of writing style, which is what a lot of people do now. With content, not just Transformers, but any kind of content. They kind of write it for Netflix where people could just watch it like crazy. No reminder like last time on, Beast Wars or something. It's, previously on X-Men. It doesn't exist like that now. So I feel like, and as much as I'd hate to say it, but like, because I feel that the Siege series is kind of a solid 6 to 7 out of 10. I feel we're going to see more of that. We're going to have a lot more of that, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think it should be easier for them to do that.
And on that note, I will say this. So we'll do our little contest. And what I'm going to ask is, we just talked about it just now. Name the 4 Energon UK McDonald's toys that were available. And we'll pick a winner. So just throw that out there. And back to talking. And we'll pick a winner in like 15 minutes or so. But again, like the thing is with Siege is I think that it just doesn't have that groove yet. The voice acting is, it is what it is. I watched it in Japanese too. Like, I actually watched it completely in Japanese just to see if there was a big difference between the two in terms of flow or voice acting quality. And I think the big problem with the series is it's a budget series. Is that because it's a budget series, there's only so many character models they could use. There's only so much they could, so much of a story they could tell in 6 episodes. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one completely. So I'm kind of hoping that like, and I know unfortunately I was hoping that Earthrise's Netflix series is going to be better, but it looks like it's kind of more of the same. Like if anything, they doubled down on the same character models. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens essentially with that. I mean, because I'm really hoping if they do Beast Wars, it's going to be a whole new cast of models and stuff because it's all the Beast characters with Kingdom.
Right.
But we'll see. Someone said it might be the worst Transformer show next to Machinima's. Well, Machinima was pretty bad. I would actually put Machinima below. I would put them below. Like I wouldn't put Siege below Machinima. Machinimas were pretty, but Machinima was super budget. Machinima was, we're just doing this on the cheap, and even though we got like, it showed that you could bring in the original voice actors, and that's not going to make a difference. You know, they brought in Ron Perlman for Optimus Primal. They brought in Judd.
Primal, yeah.
They brought in Judd Nelson for Hot Rod, and it shows that you can't just do that. You need to have good storytelling. You need to have good quality voice directors, and again, when you have what I hate, which is the single booth recording style, which is someone just comes in, records their lines, and leaves. It's garbage because they have no chemistry with any of the other people that they're dealing with. And the first time that I remember consciously noticing that was G.I. Joe at Sergeant Slaughter, where it sounded like all of his lines were recorded at another day. Like he'd be talking and then his audio quality and his delivery was as if he didn't know how he was talking to the other person. It's like he was cutting a promo or something, like.
Well, he's doing what he normally does then.
But it's just it really felt like Sergeant Slaughter was not in the recording room with everyone else, and it made it feel weird, which is it's like, okay, I guess, but I mean at the same time, hold on, one of my mods just letting me know that he has a winner. Okay, so we have a winner. All right, so we'll get to the winner in a moment. But going back to what I was saying, like it's just, I feel that was the biggest flaw that Siege had, is every voice actor recorded their lines separately, and so there was no interaction with each other, and so it just didn't have those moments to breathe. The story was the same old story: throw the Allspark into the space bridge to keep it away from Megatron, which again, I know you have to do look. The one thing I appreciate with the new Spider-Man stuff that we have is they didn't have to do the same old Spider-Man origin story all over again. They didn't have to do, get bit by the spider, the whole thing. We know the story. We know how it goes. So it's the same thing. When you do a Transformer series, maybe we don't need to start from the beginning with Prime. We just have to, at this point we know Megatron bad, Optimus good, and just jump into that. And maybe when the series is successful, if you want to tell that story for that continuity, save it for a flashback scene in season 2 or something, for some character development. But that's just how I would do it. That's just how I would do it.
Just change it up, just make it a little bit different, because everyone already kind of knows the story, kind of over and over and over and over.
Well, the thing is that, like General Tang was talking about good directors. Well, I also think in the case of Archer, I would not be surprised if a lot of those people know each other very well. Where sometimes in the case of like the Netflix stuff, people do recordings from home and never meet the voice actors that they work with. And I mean, look, Frank Welker showed people his home studio, and so he doesn't even have to leave the house anymore to do some of his jobs. But I mean, there's a lot of people.
I think there's a few voice actors that have home studios, or at least they have a space in their house.
I would imagine. I would imagine they all do now, especially. But I mean, especially back then, where it's like, you don't even have to leave your joint, and you've done entire TV series where you never met these other voice actors, let alone you've never even had to play off of them. Where I think in the case of Archer, I think that a lot of those voice actors know each other in real life, and they're probably so familiar with the characters. Again, Archer's kind of a weird example because that's a series that has organic character development and growth already, where Siege was a 6-episode series where some of these people might never talk to each other ever again. So it's a different animal. Completely different animal. So we have our winner, and I just wanted to say, so for whoever the winner is, contact me through Twitter. You have to have a registered email address and a registered mailing address. I know that sounds crazy to ask for those two things, but sometimes people just don't have those two things. Can't be a P.O. box. But we'll ship anywhere free in the world, so it doesn't make a difference. And our winner is Troy Smith. So Troy, when you get a chance, pop on to Twitter, send me a PM, and we'll get you all the information from Symbiote Studios and the cool stuff that you could get through them. And again, if you're interested in getting any Symbiote Studio stuff, symbiotestudios.com, Transformer plush, Transformer pins, Transformer awesomeness. You know, a lot of cool stuff. Nice Transformer shirts too. But yeah, getting back to what we were saying, someone asked, hey Protoman, is Lego going to have a partnership with Transformers since Lego does not compete with toy companies like Hasbro? Well, technically Hasbro competed with them at one point, quite a few times.
Yeah.
Back in the day when they did Build to Rule, they were competing with Lego, and then when they did the Kre-O stuff, they were competing with Lego. Obviously, they were using a company in Korea called Oxford that's been around for years, but they were competing with Lego. The thing is that, to give an example, has Hasbro ever in the past taken one of the brands that they own? And I'm not talking about the brands that they license, like Star Wars or Marvel stuff. Hasbro, have they ever taken one of the brands that they owned and done Lego with it? They haven't. There hasn't been like G.I. Joe Lego or Gem Lego or, you know, stuff like that. And I think the primary reason why that hasn't happened because Hasbro feels that they probably can do it themselves. They're a toy company, so they're not going to let someone else do something that they could do themselves. They have, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They have the machines for it. They have the factories for it. Where Star Wars is Disney. They get other people to pay them to make their Lego figures. You know, they get other people to pay them for that stuff. Same thing with Marvel. Same thing with Ninja Turtles.
Which is Disney
Ninja
again.
Turtles, you know, Ninja Turtles is another one. When they were on both sides. Ninja Turtles was Mega Bloks and it was Lego. You know, so
yeah.
And I think Marvel was too at Mega Bloks at one point. You know, so, and I think actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, but this is like before. Hasbro now owns Power Rangers, and at one point Power Rangers was with Mega Bloks. So
yeah,
and that's not the case anymore, and probably won't be in the future. So it's something that look, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens in the future, but I don't think Hasbro will work with another toy company. I think the only time, like I've seen like Ninja Turtles, which is Playmates, I've seen them work with like Mattel, where they'll do crossovers with the He-Man stuff, or they'll do crossovers with the wrestling stuff, like they did. Actually, now that I think about it,
the He-Man with the wrestling stuff. Pretty interesting.
They did Ninja Turtles meets Ghostbusters, which is technically Kenner, which is technically Hasbro. So that happened. But maybe, I don't know, maybe that was like a brand that they weren't interested in at the time. Who knows? It's something that I can't really give a straight answer because Hasbro has not shown any indication of ever wanting to really play ball with other companies. Look, they already play ball with Takara, which is their sister company. So that's probably the limit of it. And not to mention whatever they do in America, they are going to do in Japan probably. And then you have to think about the licensing and the stuff with that on that side of the border, which is why, you know it for a fact, whatever Hasbro is going to do with Power Rangers in the future is not going to show up from Takara on their side. You know, like there's a lot of that stuff. But yeah. that's another wrinkle that people have to think about. Trying to think of what else we were going to discuss, because we're just open forum stuff. I think we'll take a few more questions and then we'll call it quits for today. I wanted to keep it just short and sweet because it was just going to be an Ener-Con panel thing, just kind of hanging out. So last question we have here, last question that we'll have for today is, how is the song intro to the Proto Retro video and street? Well, what is it called? Okay, that's not really a question. It's called The Presenter. It's a license-free music that I've been using for like 10 years. I'll try to find a way to upload the MP3 and people could download it. I don't know if the website exists anymore that used to have that music. Why was a Power Ranger?
Why was there Power Rangers and TMNT?
Crossover thing.
I think at that point, what was it? Saban owned
Yeah,
both
that
of
was
them, or Saban was doing the Next Generation show, and then they were doing Power Rangers at the time, so they just
e-
decided to cross them both
exactly
over.
that. The at the time was Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, and
Next Mutation, thank you.
at the time Saban practically owned the Fox Kids block, and so he was producing practically all the content on there. And so they're like, hey, we'll do the next Ninja Turtle series. And at the time it was Power Rangers in Space, so they just did a little crossover because they had the suits for both those actors. And it's the same thing where when Ninja Turtles was the 2K3 series, that was Fox Kids. No, that was the Fox box, and that was 4Kids Entertainment. And if you look at everything that was in the Fox box in 2003, it was all 4Kids Entertainment stuff. So that was just the block back then, and Saban owning that stuff now. It's a different story today. I mean, yeah. Let's see. General Techno mentioned Boom Studios did a crossover with TMNT and Power Rangers. I don't. The thing with the Power Rangers thing is that I think Boom Studios has a contract that predates Hasbro's buyout. So I'm pretty sure there's something in there that when that contract is over, or if it's not renewed, because think about it, Hasbro, they would have probably gave the Power Ranger comic to IDW because they have such a good relationship. So I don't know. And again, Boom Studios, look, they do the WWE comics, which is Mattel, so they do the Ninja Turtle comics, which is with the Ninja Turtle crossover. They do the Power Ranger comics, which is Hasbro. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens in the future, more or less. But that's it. That's it, more or less, guys. We just want to do a little quick stream with everybody. Congratulations to Troy, the winner of the contest. Thank you, JawzD, for coming today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're just going to do a little quick little stream because we did 2 this week, which is already too much for me. I just wanted to do it just for Ener-Con, just so they have a 2-day thing. Nice little stuff. And thanks everyone who came out to just hang out in the stream and check out everything. Once again, if you're interested in supporting the podcast, hit that join button below, or check us out on the Patreon, get some cool little stuff and everything, get part of the Patreon credit scroll and stuff. I hope we were entertaining to a small degree, a little bit. I hope we're entertaining. And now we're gonna go and relax and enjoy the rest of the evening. So take care, guys, and as always, like I said, roll out.
Bye.